Pranav and
Cool.
the presentation from Facebook also, and from the webinar platform. Both the guys would request you to give a heads up. Ganesh says, yeah, Ganesh, please type in the questions. We'll take at the end of this webinar. Ganesh had already created some question and all. That's really good to know. And this is going to be an awesome webinar because Pranav also has that email marketing thing as his expertise, and myself also I am into email marketing, and we have many other people in the webinar also some having email marketing expertise. So let's see how let's see, this will be a wonderful webinar, I guess. So let's start.
Yes.
I want to introduce Pranav. So Pranav, I know Pranav because I was also working with. I am working with Digital Vidya as a freelance trainer for inbound marketing and email marketing. So Pranav also works as a freelance trainer there. Apart from that, he is a trainer, and he's also worked with SaaS companies, and he has his own agency and all. So he brings with him a lot of good experience, which is very relevant to digital marketing. So Pranav, all yours.
Yes, thank you for that.
Thank you very much. I am switching off my video, but anywhere if something is required, I will be unmuting myself and talk.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you. So thank you, Govardhan, for the warm introduction. I'll just add to what Govardhan said. Just to complete my introduction, I started my career as a social media marketer, which was back in 2012-ish, 12, yeah, or 13 beginning. So it's been 7-8 years now. And of course, we are naive at the start. We don't know what the world is all about, and so social media felt like, okay, this is what marketing for me actually, this is what my marketing world consists of. Slowly but surely, I started getting a little frustrated, a little unhappy, a little anxious about how marketing was being done in the world. And I realized that everyone is focusing on the numbers. Everyone wants bigger numbers. Everyone wants to maximize everything, which means that we want maximum number of clicks, we want maximum number of likes, maximum number of followers, traffic, etc., etc. And then if you can, all of this would have made sense if you could always, if you always could map the numbers with the revenue. And that was never the case. More likes, we all know, don't lead to more revenue or more business. They don't even lead to more brand loyalty or goodwill. More followers also don't do anything of that sort. It's actually something else that is at play here, which I thought of exploring as I went ahead in my career. And email marketing is one of those tools, and I'll be saying a few controversial things today, which I hope will go well. Because the first thing that one of the disappointments that I faced early in my career was that everyone wanted numbers. But later I realized that, hey, you know what? Maybe I don't need the numbers. Maybe I don't need the width. I just need the depth. Instead of having 10,000 followers or even 10,000 email subscribers, if I can have, let's say, 50 or even 36 email subscribers who genuinely are my super fans, who genuinely want to hear everything that I have to say, then that's quite enough for me. And so this rabbit hole, helped me understand email marketing. I recently got into email marketing, so I'm definitely not an expert like a few others are. So I know that that Govardhan is an expert. Anmol has said that he's an expert. I am far from being an expert. I am a student. I'm a student because like I said, I started my career as a social media marketer. Email marketing is a new interest of mine. But hey, you should always share what you learn. And so over the past few months or so, I have learned a few things which I would just make an attempt to share in the coming slides. If you can hear me loud and clear, just type in a quick yes so that I can know I can move on. Just a quick yes in the chat, please. Cool. Awesome. So guys, let's first define a creator. And a creator is someone who is opposite of all the brands and organizations that want you to focus on getting big numbers. A creator does not believe in any of that nonsense. A creator focuses small, even tiny. What does that mean? Very quickly we realized that the age of 80s, 70s, 80s, and 90s is gone. When there was no internet, we had only 2 television channels. I don't know how many of you remember, but when I was growing up, I had only two television channels. So one was Doordarshan and second was DD Metro. And I think there was also Sahyadri for Marathi, but that was it. And now then came cable, which expanded the channels to, let's say, 50, and now we have n number of channels on Tata Sky and Dish TV. And same goes for the internet. Same goes for my all the sources from where I can consume information. But you know that already. Uh, what happened was that as the world got more noisy, the brands that started making a lot of noise suffered a little bit. So if you want to become the next Flipkart, if you want to become the next let's say Amazon, or even if you want to become the next Swiggy, perhaps this webinar might not be valuable for you, because those are mass market brands. I'm not talking about any of those. I'm talking about a creator. A creator is someone who focuses on a small audience. And a small doesn't mean that it's just one people or two people. The smallest viable audience that Seth Godin talks about. What is the smallest viable audience? Well, let's say Ananya says that she wants to be a life coach. How many clients does Ananya need? And this is a question for everyone. How many clients does Ananya need to have a successful business as a life coach in, let's say, in 1 year? What would be that number? Estimate, huh? And everyone, including Ananya, can answer this. What is the number of clients that she needs, perhaps, to build a successful business? Anyone? It's an estimate, okay? We are not here to build a business model, but just an estimate, just an approximation. Okay, Govardhan says 20. So 20 clients in 1 year sounds good. Sridhar says 25. So let's even increase it a little bit further. Let's make it 50. 50 clients, or let's say 100. Okay, Ananya says 100. 100 clients, which I think is very optimistic, because 100 divided by 12 actually becomes, if you're talking about 100 retained clients, you just can't, as a one person business, you just can't build 100 clients in one. You can't cater, you can't service to 100 clients. But chalo, let's take that example. Let's stick to 100. Now, out of the population of the whole world, Ananya needs 100 people, which means, can you imagine how tiny this number is? How much this fraction is low as compared to the global population? Which means that tomorrow, if Ananya says, I just want to cater to women in Bangalore who are entrepreneurs, that will be all. That's all the target audience that she needs. What happens is that when you focus on tiny, your marketing message becomes extremely precise. You don't talk to the whole world, you talk to a specific group of people, and your story resonates. Okay, so that is the first advantage. And the second advantage is that instead of being a generic life coach, if you can focus on one area, your expertise into coaching those kind of people goes very, very deep. And that's what a creator is all about. All right, so a creator is someone who focuses small. He is not an Infosys, not a Wipro. He's someone who is looking to build a business through a small audience. That's the first part. Secondly, the creator focuses on providing value first. The creator is not selfish. He does not say that first give me money, then only I'll provide value. No, a creator will just share it because he loves doing that. So for example, I've seen Govardhan share value, I've seen Anmol share value on Facebook, not because they are getting paid by anyone. Okay, no one is paying them. Are you wrote a Facebook post, take these 2,000 rupees? No, he's just doing it out of his goodwill. And of course, money is a byproduct. So if you focus on solving the problems of the right target market, then of course finances or money will come. A creator believes that he's in the relationship business. And I can have a separate webinar on this topic, but many brands undervalue relationships so much. They believe in playing the short game. They try to scam people, spam people, because they feel that, okay, if they lose this one-time transaction, the business will go down. But when you are scamming people, you might succeed in the short run, but in the long run, it's definitely going to fail. Okay, and so most importantly, the creator respects his audience. He's not someone who's trying to mint money all the time. He will respect his audience. Okay, so that is what a creator is. And as you can see, this is contrary to most of the marketing messages out there, which are about growth hacking and building a bigger business. Nothing wrong with that. Go ahead and build a big business. I am very interested in talking about this small 1% or even 10 people company which focuses on a small audience and then grows their business. All right. So moving on to the next next slide. Let's talk a little bit about this whole thing known as email marketing. And as some of you might know, I'm a big Seth Godin fan, and one of the things that Seth says is that, okay, there are basically two things that a brand needs. One is awareness, and second is trust. And awareness is what most of the brands focus on. Awareness is easy to build. Even if I go on the road and start dancing right now, I'll get a lot of awareness. But will that generate trust? Not so much, because I'm just doing some kind of a gimmick. So in this typical funnel that you have of awareness, consideration, conversion, and advocacy, you will see that, okay, as far as awareness is concerned, email marketing does not play a role. What is awareness? So someone right now got to know about me for the first time through this webinar. That's awareness. But now if they want to get to know more about me, or if they want to stay in touch, one way in which they can stay in touch is through Facebook and through LinkedIn, which is fine. Okay, so even in consideration phase, they can stay in touch with me through social. But the best tool that I know for consideration phase and also the advocacy phase is email. Why? Because email is a tool which has better reach. Why does it have better reach? Because it doesn't depend on algorithms which that social media depends on. You don't have to keep on migrating. Let's say Facebook is becoming old, let me move to TikTok, and then TikTok becomes old and you move to something else. Nothing of that sort. Email has been a tool we have not changed. I have not changed my email ID since the last 20 years or so, I think, which is when I had 21 years. And I think most of you wouldn't have changed your email ID. Yes, there are a few issues of spam and being red flagged, which we'll touch upon a little bit. But mostly, when you send an email, there is a big chance, a very high chance, that your subscriber will be able to at least see that email in his inbox. Whether he clicks or not is a different ballgame, but at least he sees, and that's why you have better reach, which of course leads to better convergence in the long run. Okay, second is intimate conversations. When you're on social media, you're trying to be a hero, basically. Okay, whenever you post something and someone comments something on your post, he's basically very, very conscious about his public image, and you are also very conscious about your public image. So the interaction, that a conversation that you have, will not be intimate. It will not be personal. They are not really telling you their problems. They are just trying to look okay because they have a status to maintain. But I know for a fact, I've done this, that when you ask people questions one-to-one on email, it's a private communication, right? And they would give you a lot of insights into what their struggles are, what their problems are, what are they struggling, what are their fears, aspirations, and so on and so forth. And the last thing is, it's simple to execute. All right. Now, all of this, basically leads to two things. Email marketing is perhaps one of the best digital marketing tools, or the best channels, as far as building relationships and building a business is concerned. All right. The PPT doesn't seem to be loading. Just give me a yes if you can see it, guys. Is it just at my end? Okay, can you see the PPT? Okay, you can see it. Cool. Awesome. So yes, email marketing basically leads to relationships and more business. Now I have I want to be respectful of everyone's times, and I know that webinars can be so overwhelming and so boring. I do not want to create one of those webinars. I simply want to talk about a few ideas, perhaps 3 to 4 ideas, and then we can have question answers to explore them further. As you can very well see, this is not a tactical webinar. This is not a webinar about how to use ConvertKit or how to use MailChimp, because there are a lot of resources out there. There are a lot of webinars already out there. I want you guys to know how to think about email marketing, not how to use that tool, because that is easy to figure out, but how to think about email marketing. Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk about, give me one sec, guys. My own PPT is not being visible to me, so let me just give me one sec. Okay, the first idea is knowing your audience. All right, how many of you believe that knowing your audience is important? Yes, no? Right. And that is one mistake that I have made. I think perhaps many of us have made, right? Because we are we are arrogant creatures. Marketers tend to be arrogant. We feel as if we know what the answer is. But actually, no. Empathy plays a key role. Empathy is all about understanding what problems they are facing. Because how will you produce content or how will you write emails if you don't know your audience? Okay, so how do you get to know your audience? Let's talk about that a little bit. Let's start with the very basic stuff. The first thing that you can do to know your audience is just talk to them. Pick a phone, or if you're not in the lockdown, you can go and meet them face to face, or if possible, do a Zoom call, or if possible, do a Skype call, and all of those things. So this is more of a direct interaction that you can have with them. There is another way to know your audience as well, which is more indirect, which means going to, let's say, Amazon book reviews. So, for example, if you are catering to an audience which is software developers, for example, find the top 10 books for software developers and read all their Amazon reviews, and pay careful attention to 5-star reviews and 1-star reviews, because the 5-star reviews will tell you what you loved about what they loved about the book, and the 1-star reviews will tell you what they hated about the book, and which will give you a lot of insight into your audience. All right. Um, it's critical. One other tip about knowing your audience is basically, when you send out your email sequence to them, the first question that you ask, which is known as the struggle question. Okay, the struggle question. So again, I'll take Ananya's example, but just because I know her business and no one else's business. Let's say if Ananya is catering to, uh, let's say she is a life coach for CEOs of software development companies, let's say offshore product development companies or IT services companies in Bangalore. Okay, I'm just making up random stuff as we go. Ananya can send an email. The first email that a particular subscriber gets from Ananya has a question which says, "Hey, Mr. XYZ, I want to be able to help you personally. And so, as the CEO of an IT service organization, what is your biggest struggle?" Question mark. That's it. Or what is your biggest struggle as far as growing your business is concerned? Or what is your biggest struggle as far as marketing is concerned? Depends on what you're trying to sell them. When you ask them what is their biggest struggle, they will give you a lot of answers, which again then becomes a content marketing topic for you, right? The second tip that I would share is ask them why 5 times. Okay, so for example, if you're talking to that CEO, he will say, "Yeah, I'm very concerned about my business." You ask why. It's not growing as at the rate at which it should. You ask why. Uh, then he says, "I don't know, the employees are not delivering value that I expect them to deliver." Then you say, "Okay, why is it frustrating you that much?" Well, because I want to sell my company in the next 3 years. Because I'm looking for investors. I'm looking to sell my company, and I want to take the money and travel the world. Then you say, "Okay, why do you want to travel the world?" Well, because I've not spent enough time with my family, and I want to spend 1 year traveling with them. When you ask why enough times, the actual aspiration, the actual fear, the actual things start coming out. All right. This is not a webinar about knowing your audience, but these are a few things that I wanted to share, because email marketing is all about knowing your audience. You cannot not know your audience and still expect to have a great email marketing campaign. Okay. The next thing that I'm going to say is used text emails. And the reason I say that is I am a big fan of text emails. HTML, most of us send, when I say most of us, most of the brands, seem to send these HTML emails, which have a few disadvantages. Let's talk about the advantages first. The advantage is that the HTML email looks a little more beautiful because there are images there. The HTML emails have a lot of links to click, so you can take that person to different places. And I think if you are in a specific type of business, let's say for SaaS companies, for example, a month, if you're sending a monthly email newsletter, then it's okay to send an HTML email. However, if you are a creator and if you are looking to build a one-on-one relationship with your subscribers, I would highly recommend a text email. All right, so I'll just share my screen. a little bit. All right. Let me know when you can see it, just to show what a text email looks like. Sorry, what an HTML email looks like. Just a confirmation if my screen is visible. Just type in visible if my screen is visible, please. Okay, awesome. So this is a newsletter that I got from Mindful. Now, if you look at this, it looks very nice, but there are like hundreds of call to actions here. Like, what is the one thing that this newsletter wants me to take away? Okay, is it about encouraging meaningful conversations, or is it about Sharon Salzberg talks about the power of loving kindness, right? Or is it about the virtual summit that they are organizing, or is it about teaching that empowers creative minds? And plus, imagine the amount of time that this email would have taken to build, and look at the n number of call to actions that this email has, which is something that I would definitely stay away from. Okay, again, there is no black and white here. If you feel that the HTML emails are best for you, go ahead. But I would certainly be a little wary about using them. On the contrary, text emails. Andre Chaperon, in my opinion, is the best email marketer in the world that I know. He believes in the same philosophy that I do, which is about focusing small. He writes these amazing stories through text emails, and you just can't stop reading these emails. It's like watching a Netflix show. It's so engaging. It's so interactive, and because of which he is able to build uh, a lot of fan following, and he's being able to make a lot of impact. All right. And if you don't believe me, just Google top 10 email marketers in the world, and you would come across names like, let's say, Ramit Sethi. And just do your own analysis. Does Ramit Sethi send a text email or a newsletter? He sends text emails. Then perhaps you will come across someone like Ben Settle, or a lot of other email copywriters. All of them send text emails. Why do they send text emails? Because in text you can have a better conversation with people love reading something that is raw, and more importantly, you can have one point to your email, because you can send emails daily. So why talk about all the things in one email? Talk about, have different emails for different topics. This will, in the long run, definitely, drip by drip, it will definitely increase your subscribers, and it will help you build a relationship with your subscribers. And then, of course, at one point of time, you start selling. We'll talk about selling in just a bit, but yeah, that is what I want to say when I compare HTML and text emails. Okay, just want to take a heads up. All good so far, guys. Just type in your favorite ice cream flavor if everything is good. What's your favorite ice cream flavor? Just need to know if everyone is awake, everyone is with me. Pan. Is there a flavor known as pan flavor? Okay. Chocolate. Cool. Okay.
Hi, Pranav.
Chocolate.
Pranav?
Yeah, go ahead. Yes.
Yeah, we are actually having replies from the Facebook audience also. Like Trinad has mentioned, it is butterscotch. And others don't eat ice cream.
Okay.
On Facebook, I'm trying to see ice cream. I want to ask them.
Yeah.
Because they had a heavy lunch and they're feeling drowsy.
I hope this webinar wakes you up.
No.
Anyway,
This webinar is really interesting. The conversation is really good going. Please keep going.
Okay, thank you. The idea. So idea number one was, what was it? That know your audience, spend some good time knowing your audience. Don't be lazy like me. Know your audience. Second is use text emails. I hope that you also feel that, yeah, if I send text emails, it is so easy. I can just write a draft. I can use a tool like ConvertKit, and I can send an email in the next 30 minutes, as opposed to sending an HTML email, which I have to keep on designing. Also, HTML emails have a lot of problems when it comes to delivery. Text emails definitely beat HTML emails in terms of delivery. There's a good article by HubSpot about HTML versus text emails, which they can explore. Anyway, I'll move further because we've spent quite a lot of time on this. Okay, the next controversial idea is optimize your lead magnets for quality and not quantity. What happens is that, let's say, those who are already doing email marketing will be able to resonate with this. let's say your boss hires you for email marketing, and he says, I want to have 1000 email subscribers in this month, do whatever you need to do. And so what do? You basically write an article, you create some kind of a lead magnet. Again, for those who do not know what a lead magnet is, a lead magnet is basically some kind of a content piece, some kind of a exchange that you do, or some kind of a content piece that you give to someone in exchange of their email ID. Okay, it's usually a newsletter, or it's a blog, or it's an ebook, or it's a video, or a free email course, etc., etc. All right, all of these lead magnets are optimized for quantity. What do I mean by that? Most of the landing pages, if you see, will have a lead magnet right at the top, where there'll be a form which will have name, email ID, etc. Why is that? Because they want to optimize for quantity. They do not want to lose people. They want more and more and more people to fill up that form, which is what you will do if your boss tells you, because your boss wants 1000 email IDs. What can you do? You have to optimize for quantity. You will be able to generate those 1000 email IDs with an article that you wrote. But then as you start engaging with them over email conversations, as you start sending them emails, you will see that they're not responding to your email campaign. They're not opening your emails. They're not even replying to your emails. What is happening? If they downloaded their your lead magnet, what is it that is stopping them from opening your emails? The thing is, they were not interested in you in the first place. They were just interested in the lead magnet. Okay, so for example, if I am doing a yoga business and I say top 10 asanas to relieve stress, and I publish that lead magnet, and I start getting email IDs, the users are not interested in me, they're interested in the content. So they are like, okay, I don't care about this brand. I just want that PDF about top 10 asanas to release stress. I don't care about anything else. Just give me the PDF. Ha, chalo, take my email ID. They don't care about you. Okay, and because of which it might look good in the first short run, but in the long run, they refuse to open up your emails. So what do? You start optimizing your emails for quality. And I'll share one technique that I have personally used to do that. Again, I'll share a lead magnet that I had prepared. Again, I think you can see my screen. This is the lead magnet that I had prepared. So a typical lead magnet has a form here. I don't have any form here. Okay, what does it say? You have one life, work with great clients, and how can freelance marketers attract great clients? Okay, as I come down, alright, there is no form. There is no way to collect a lead. Okay, I'm coming down. Okay, at the bottom also there is no form. Okay, I go to the next page. What happens on the next page? At least here there should be some kind of a lead form. No, there is no lead form. I'm simply giving them information. Again, at the bottom of the page, there is no lead form. Okay, so I say click here to continue. Now I go on the third page. Again, there is no lead form. Finally, when I go on to the fourth page, now finally I can see a lead form at the bottom of the fourth page. Okay, have I lost my mind? Why do you think I am doing this? What is the purpose? What is the intention? What am I gaining? What is my thinking behind this? Your content has already pre-sold your value. It's creating curiosity. Okay, Anmol is typing. So okay, he's not typing. That's correct. See, firstly, I am building a lot of credibility before I give them value. Why should it always be that no, I first want your email ID and then only I'll give you value? No, I'll give you value first. Take it. Don't even give me your email ID. I'm creating an experience in such a way that the user should himself feel, yeah, I really want to be on that email list. I just can't wait to be on that email list, because if Pranav is writing such good content, I want to be able to receive all of his emails. So this technique is basically known as MPPS, multiple page pre-sale site. MPPS, it's a little on the advanced side. I wouldn't recommend that you use it practically, because it's a little difficult to implement. What I would say is that this strategy basically filters out all the bad leads, all the irrelevant leads. So anyone and everyone who doesn't like you or does not connect with your philosophy, they go away. and those who connect with your philosophy become your fans even before you send them the lead magnet. And when they send, you, even before you send them the content piece is what I meant to say. And when they give their email ID to you, and when you start sending emails to them, they just can't ignore you anymore, simply because they have now become your fans through this content. All right. Okay. So that's the idea number 3, that optimize your lead magnets for quality. Quantity might seem attractive in the short run. Are 100 subscribers, 200 subscribers, 300 subscribers, but no, you have to focus on relevant conversations. What happened, by the way, because of this campaign is that I couldn't amass a lot of subscribers, and we'll talk about that a little bit later perhaps. I didn't amass a lot of subscribers, but the open rates that I had were close to 60%, and now it's dropped because this is a cumulative open rate of, but I had an open rate which was a little higher than this, which was 60%, and 60%, as you know, is pretty high, right, as far as the industry standards are concerned. This is the power of creating, multiple page pre-sale site. Okay, coming back to the presentation, and coming back to the 4th idea now, which says keep relevancy very, very high. Okay, now what is keep relevancy very, very high? Most of us send email broadcasts, which means that the same email is drafted and it is sent to everyone. Some people are even worse than this. They will not send an email for days and days and days, and once they have a product to sell, once they create some kind of a service or a product to sell, they will start sending their emails. This kind of email marketing does not work. And even if you do broadcasting, that does not work. So what do you mean by keep relevancy very high? It means that you basically send relevant emails to relevant people, or in other words, segmentation. Because people will join your email list for different reasons, right? Some of them want to learn X from you. So for example, someone might join Anmol's list because they want to learn copywriting, but someone else might join it because they want to learn funneling, and someone else might join because of some other reason. So there are different reasons for which they're joining, and you have to respect that reason and give them the content that they like. All right. So let us, I think in the next 3 to 4 minutes, let us go through an exercise together. All right. I'll start sharing my screen. How does all of this come into action? So this is what I want to share. And this is an Excel sheet that I've prepared basically. See, let's take an example. Let's say all of us are starting our digital marketing agencies, and our target market is very narrow. It's funded tech startups which have strengths of only 15 people. Okay, just 15 people, tech startups. That is my target audience. All of us are running a digital marketing agency. Govardhan is the CEO. Ananya is the CTO. Anmol is the CFO. Ranjan is I don't know, marketing head. All of us are running a digital marketing agency. We are catering to tech startups. Okay, I have taken 3 personas: CEO, CTO, and head of marketing. Can we talk about the struggles, fears, dreams, and aspiration of CEO? Can anyone tell me what is a struggle or a fear or a dream of, or an aspiration of a CEO with a startup of 15 people? Just as an example. Doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just trying to build in some kind of a persona. What is the CEO struggling with? Right. Okay. So the CEO, very good. CEO is concerned about funding, scaling. What was the other one? Breaking even. That is a good point. Breaking even. Okay. Now, let's forget about the CTO. Is the head of marketing also thinking about the same thing? What is the head of marketing thinking? Right. I'm copying this answer from Anmol into this. Does the head of marketing have the same issues or different issues? Very good. The head of marketing has different sets of problems altogether. Okay, he's like, if I don't get leads, the CEO will fire me, right? or what are my best traction channels, right? Or his problem would be, how do I hire a great team, or marketing, or how do I hire a great digital marketing agency. Okay, I'm just brainstorming about a few problems. Okay, now if I had to create a lead magnet for head of marketing, what could be a few ideas to create a lead magnet for the head of marketing? A few topics. What can be the topic on which I can create a lead magnet for head of marketing? Okay, let's say how to get qualified leads for your business is one lead magnet. Again, it will be very specific. Okay, so how to get qualified leads for your technology business, because I want them to know that, okay, this lead magnet is only for technology businesses, not for how to motivate people, etc. Okay, so these are a few lead magnets that we can cover. Now, how do we build an email sequence? Okay, this is what I'll talk about in Excel sheet 2. See, basically, you provide a lead magnet to the marketing head, which is all about, let's say, how to get qualified leads or how to motivate people to perform. Once that particular marketing head subscribes to your lead magnet, once he gives you that email ID and phone number, you start with a series, an email series, an automated email series, which is typically known as the welcome series, where you must have experiences with other brands as well. Once you give your email ID to them, you start getting emails on a daily basis for the first, let's say, 4 or 5 days. If not daily basis, sometimes it is weekly basis, but typically there is a welcome sequence. In that welcome sequence, there is email 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. Now, what happens in email 2 is that in email 2, you talk about a particular article which says 5 mistakes to avoid while looking to hire a digital marketing agency. And you give a clickable link to that, so that people can click on the link and go to a particular page which talks about this topic, 5 mistakes to avoid while hiring a digital marketing agency. Okay. What for people who click on this button, what will that tell me about those people? Let's say 35 people click on this particular link. What does that mean about those 35 people? Very, very obviously, they are interested in that topic, right? I guess that's what Ananya is typing, that they are interested in the topic of hiring a digital marketing agency, or they're actually considering hiring a digital marketing agency. What I will do now is that whoever clicks on this button, many tools like ConvertKit and MailerLite will give me an option to tag them or to segment them into a particular category, which means that I will take that subscriber out of this email list and I will start sending him this promotional sequence, but not to everyone. That's a mistake. If I send this promotional sequence to everyone, most of them will ignore it because there is no context. They never wanted to hire a digital marketing agency. So out of these 100 people who had subscribed here, 35 people clicked here, and I am sending them a promotional sequence, which is this. This is how you segment. This is how you basically send only relevant stuff to relevant people. All right. We will now have question answers on this. I will just summarize what I wanted to say. If you are someone who is a mass market brand who wants to build a huge list, these ideas are not great for you. But if you're someone who is looking to build a very loyal small audience, which are your super fans, I wanted to share a few ideas. The first idea was that know your audience in and out. You should know what kind of books they read, what kind of movies they watch, what kind of dreams they have, what kind of goals they have. Secondly, use text emails. Don't use HTML emails. Third point was you optimize your lead magnets for quality, not quantity. Here, the relationship matters, not the number. And the fourth point was keep relevancy very high. And this is where we took an example of how to build a lead magnet and how to send relevant emails to relevant people. That's it. That's it from my end, guys. questions, if at all. Otherwise, yeah, I'll let Govardhan take up.
Thank you, Pranav. And it was really a great session. And I think people don't focus, most of the people don't focus on this level